So now we have our flowchart design and we have our function headers which we've programmed into Python. What we want to do now is probably write some pseudocode. You don't have to. This is good enough as pseudocode. I notice I've just missed the N on there. So let's put that in. This is good enough as pseudocode, but if you really want to thrill or enhance your work, then by all means write some pseudocode as well. So I'm going to do both at the moment to give you a sort of feel for what's going on. I'm going to need a bit more space, so I'm probably going to move this sheet up and down to give myself some more space. And I'm going to write the main program in pseudocode. Now what I want you to notice is that this is a loop, okay? So we're going to show the menu, we're going to get the choice, and then we're going to keep looping through until somebody presses 3, and then we're going to end. So if they press 1, they're going to play the game, then they're going to go back to the menu. If they press 2, they're going to get the size, play the game, and then go back to the menu, and it's going to keep looping round. That's a little special feature that we have to build into our pseudocode because it's not quite obvious from this diagram how to write that. So let's pay some attention to that factor later on. It might seem a bit strange. So the first thing we did was set the size to 10. I'm going to use a variable instead of set size or call it size. I'm going to actually call it what it is. It's the board size, and I'm going to set that to 10. So this is the way I'm going to write that. Board size, which is the size. It's the very first line of my program. I'm going to put 10 into there. Now remember, this is pseudocode, not Python. It could be for any other language. It's just telling me what's happening. After that, after I set the board size, what I did was show the menu. Okay, so that's my next line of code. Show menu. Okay, and I'm going to put the parenthesis at the end to say that it's a function or a procedure. The next line of code that we dealt with is get the user's choice. Now this is a bit special because what's going to happen is that somebody's going to type in this function, in this box here, they're going to type in 1, 2 or 3, and what's going to happen is it's going to pass it back out to the main program so that we can use these if statements to check it. So that's a little bit different. You should have done parameter passing, and you should have done return values, but if not, try to follow along. So I'm going to choose a new variable. I'm going to call it choice, and I'm going to say that is set to get choice. Okay, open and close my brackets just to show that it's a function. Now you might be tempted to write the if statement next, but actually this is a loop. It's going to go round and round in a loop. Okay, I've chosen to do it this way. You could do this after the loop, but you might end up with a problem. This is the best way of doing it, is reading the menu, showing the menu, getting the choice, and then entering the loop. So what kind of loop do we have? There are two kinds of loops that we could play with. There is a for loop, which would say, okay, I'm going to run the program 5 times, so I'm going to go for indexes 1 to 5, okay, and then stop, which really I want to keep running the loop while this is not 3, okay, while we haven't chosen 3. So what I really need is a while loop, so I'm going to write that in, a while. Now I'm not going to use Python, I'm going to use, again, as I've said, pseudocode language. My language, it's not necessary, there's no correct way of doing things as long as it's clear, understandable, and can be used in different languages. So while choice, my variable, okay, because I got the user's choice, while that is different to 3. Now this is not Python, okay? This is not Python, it's the way I'm writing it. This might be for another language, it might work in another language, it doesn't work in Python, but I'm using these symbols. You might want to use the Python symbols of not equals, that's fine. That would work in a lot of languages, you could put that in there. I'm just playing devil's advocate and just changing things. So while the choice is different to 3, do the following, okay? And then I'm going to indent whatever we're doing. So I am now here. I'm now checking whether it's 1, whether it's 2. I don't need to check whether it's 3 because I'm already doing that here, okay? So checking if it's 1, I'm going to use an if statement. If choice, okay, remember we got choice here. If choice is equal, now I have not used again the double equal sign at the moment. I'll do that when I'm writing in Python. I'm just writing some pseudocode here. If choice is equal to 1, okay, you could write the word then on the end. That would be okay. That is used in a lot of languages. Visual Basic uses then. So I'm going to put that there. Then what I want to do, if the choice is 1, I want to play my game. But I've got to do something rather special with it. I'm going to say play the game, but the game needs to know what the size of the board is. Okay, we're going to change it here. We're going to say let the board size equal 5, then play the game, or let the board size equal 12, then play the game. But playing the game, we need to know what the board size is. So I'm going to put that into here, board size, so it knows what size we are playing the game with. So that's the first one. That's 1 dealt with. The next one we're going to deal with is the number 2. Now I could use an elif, I could use an else. Else would be rather bad to use here because let's say if it was 4, if the user chose 4, then the else statement would work. So I'm actually going to use another if statement. If the choice is equal to 2, then, well, if it's equal to 2, we want to get the new size. And rather like get choice above, okay, where we did it here, the user is going to be offered a sort of statement, please input a new size, and it's going to pass the information back out. So what's going to happen is that the board size is going to be set to the value we get from the function new size. Okay, so we're going to get the new size and we're going to pass it out. So we've dealt with 1, we've dealt with 2, we've dealt with 3. Anything else we're not bothered with. I'm not going to write an else statement. You could put an else in here. You'd need to probably amend your design to have a box here, which would say, no, choose 1, 2 or 3. Okay? The choice you've made is not allowed. But that's it for me. I've just checked the 1, I've just checked the 2, we've got the 3, anything else. All we're going to do after that is go back to the show menu. We're going to show the menu again. Problem is we can't get back up to here. Okay, we're in this loop. And when this loop's finished, it's going to drop down to the next set of statements. Okay, so we're going to have to think about that. One further thing, after I've done the board size, if you notice, if we get new size, the arrow then goes back up to play the game. So we've got to do this statement as well in here, play game, and we need to tell it the new board size. Okay, so that's the job done. That's all of my if statements. That's checked it. It matches this. So going back to what I was saying with, once I've done that, I need to see the menu again. So at the very bottom, I need to type show menu. Basically, all we are doing is repeating these 2 statements. Okay, and then choice is set to, oh, you can't see that. Choice is set to get choice again. Okay, so that sort of makes sense because We wanted it to go round the loop, and every time we finished playing the game or setting the board size, we wanted to go back to showing the menu and getting the choice. But in the while loop, it would only do it before, and then we wouldn't see it again. So we had to actually put it in there so that it works. Now that's our program. That is our total program finished, and we are about ready to code. Last thing I'm going to do is, if I'm using if statements, I really should do if end to tell me that my if statements are finished, and I should also put in here a while end. Now don't forget, this is pseudocode. You don't need to use it, you could just stick with the flowchart, but it's useful actually writing it out. One further thing that is not in my program, I might want to give the user a message just to say that the game is over. I haven't put it in the design. I'm not going to put it in the design. I haven't decided what we're going to do yet. But whatever I write will come after here. So I might want to say write out thanks for playing. That is just going to help me know that my while loop is finished and I'm out of the program. So the next thing to do is to take all of this and to code it in Python. It might be a good idea if you've either got a copy of this, a screenshot, or you've hand written it out so that you can follow along.